Fame and fortune in Hollywood can seem glamorous and everlasting, but for some stars, life takes a shocking and tragic turn. In this video, we'll be exploring the stories of well-known actors and actresses who went from the heights of celebrity to the depths of homelessness. Willie Aames.
I lost everything at one point, I went from eating at the White House to sleeping in the bushes and brought myself back again. But nobody gave me a hand up.
Willie Aames, best known for his role as Tommy Bradford on the popular 1970s sitcom 8 is Enough, experienced a dramatic fall from grace. At the height of his career, he was earning more than $1 million a year. However, after the show ended, he admitted to making stupid decisions that led to his downfall. Aames struggled with substance abuse and alcohol addiction, went through 2 divorces, and eventually found himself broke and homeless. In his own words, he went from eating at the White House to sleeping in the bushes. Aames's troubles began when 8 is Enough was canceled in 1981. He had difficulty finding steady work and began to rely on medications, illicit substances, and alcohol to cope. His substance abuse issues led to the breakdown of his marriages and strained his relationship with his children. As his financial situation deteriorated, Aames lost his home and was forced to sleep in his car or in local parks. He finally hit rock bottom when he found himself sleeping under bushes, wondering how his life had taken such a drastic turn. Realizing he needed to make a change, Aames began to turn his life around. He got sober, learned a trade, and slowly worked his way back up from the bottom. He took jobs as a construction worker and a cruise ship director to make ends meet. In 2018, Aames made a return to acting. Today, he continues to work in the entertainment industry, having appeared in several projects since his comeback. Throughout his journey, Aames has been open about his Christian faith, which has played a significant role in his life and recovery. He's been married 3 times and has 2 children, Christopher with Vicki Weatherman and Harley Jean with Malo McCaslin. In 2014, he married his current wife, Winnie Hung. Erin Moran. Erin Moran, who stole many a heart as Joni Cunningham on the hit sitcom Happy Days in the 70s, faced a tragic end to her life. Moran landed the role of Joni at just 14 years old and quickly became a household name. But when the show ended in 1984, she struggled to find acting work and her career began to stall. In 2010, Moran lost her California home to foreclosure and was forced to move into a trailer park in Indiana with her husband, Steve Fleischman, and his mother. The living situation was far from ideal and tensions began to rise. In 2012, after a drunken brawl with her mother-in-law, Moran was kicked out of the trailer. With nowhere to go and no money to her name, the former child star found herself homeless. Moran bounced between motels, relying on the kindness of strangers to get by. She battled substance abuse issues and her health began to deteriorate. In April 2017, at just 56, Moran passed away from complications of stage 4 cancer. Bobby Driscoll. Bobby Driscoll's story is quite possibly the most tragic on this list. Driscoll was a child star in the 1940s, appearing in Disney classics like Peter Pan, Song of the South, and Treasure Island. He even won an Academy Award at age 12 for his role in The Window, becoming the first actor signed to an exclusive contract with Disney. However, as Driscoll entered his teenage years, his boyish looks began to fade, and he found it increasingly difficult to land roles. Disney dropped him from his contract when he was just 16 years old. Struggling to find work and dealing with the pressures of fame at such a young age, Driscoll turned to drugs. By the time he was 31, he was a heroin addict and had spent time in jail. In March 1968, his body was found in an abandoned New York City tenement building. He had died from heart failure due to chronic substance abuse. With no identification on him, he was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave on Hart Island. Perhaps most tragically, it took his family over a year to find out about his passing. Austin Majors. Austin Majors, best known for his role as Theo Sipowicz on the hit series NYPD Blue, tragically passed away at age 27 in February 2023. The cause of his death was later revealed to be an accidental fentanyl overdose. Majors was found dead at a homeless housing facility in Los Angeles, a shocking end for a young man who had shown so much potential in his brief career. Born Austin Robert Setmajer in 1995, Majors began his acting career at a young age. He landed his breakout role on NYPD Blue in 1999 when he was just 4 years old, playing the son of Detective Andy Sipowicz, played by Dennis Franz. Majors appeared in 48 episodes of the show over 5 years, winning a Young Artists Award for Best Performance in a Television Series in 2002. In addition to his work on NYPD Blue, Majors lent his voice to the character of young Jim Hawkins in Disney's animated film Treasure Planet, and had guest roles on popular shows like ER, How I Met Your Mother, NCIS, and Desperate Housewives. Despite his early success in Tinseltown, Majors faced intense personal struggles in his later years. His family released a statement following his death, remembering him as a loving, artistic, brilliant, and kind human being who took great pride in his acting career. They noted he was an active Eagle Scout, graduated salutatorian in high school, and went on to study at the USC School of Cinematic Arts with a passion for directing and music producing. Majors had been a member of the Screen Actors Guild for 2 decades and expressed pride in his journey as an actor. In a 2020 Instagram post, he shared a photo of his SAG-AFTRA card reflecting on his career and stating he felt the trip was just beginning. The news of Majors' death and the circumstances surrounding it shed light on the ongoing opioid epidemic and the challenges faced by those struggling with addiction, even among those who have achieved success in their chosen fields. Sly Stone, the frontman of the groundbreaking funk band Sly and the Family Stone, revolutionized music in the late 1960s and early 70s with his unique blend of funk, soul, and psychedelic rock. With hits like Everyday People, Dance to the Music, and Family Affair, Stone and his band were at the forefront of the music scene, bridging racial and cultural divides with their inclusive message and sound. But behind the scenes, Stone was battling personal demons. He had always been known for his eccentric behavior and heavy drug use, but as the years went on, his addiction began to take a serious toll on his life and career. By the mid-70s, Stone's drug use had become so severe he was often unable to perform or even show up to concerts. The band eventually disbanded, and Stone faded from the public eye. In 2011, Stone made headlines when it was revealed that he had been homeless for several years, living out of a van in the rough Crenshaw neighborhood of Los Angeles. The once famous musician who had lived in a Beverly Hills mansion at the height of his success was now barely scraping by. Stone admitted he had lost all of his money due to mismanagement and his struggle with addiction. Despite his dire circumstances, Stone maintained a surprisingly positive outlook. He claimed that he preferred living in his van and not being tied down to any one place. He continued to make music, recording new material on a laptop in his van. In 2016, a documentary about his life, On the Sly in Search of the Family Stone, was released, bringing renewed attention to his story. Margot Kidder.
I risked my life instead of yours.
Lois, don't be insane.
And don't fall down, because you're just going to have to get up again.
No, Lois, now don't be crazy now. What?
Margot Kidder is best known for her iconic role as Lois Lane opposite Christopher Reeve in the Superman films of the 70s and 80s. She was a rising star in Hollywood with a string of successful films under her belt, including The Amityville Horror and Sisters. But behind the scenes, Kidder was battling serious mental health issues. In 1990, Kidder was involved in a serious car accident that left her unable to work for 2 years. She underwent extensive surgery and was prescribed painkillers, which she became dependent on. As she struggled to recover both physically and mentally, her career began to suffer. In April 1996, Kidder had a highly publicized manic episode. She subsequently went missing for several days and was eventually found by police in a stranger's backyard in Glendale, California. She was disheveled, paranoid, and missing her front teeth. Kidder claimed that her ex-husband, novelist Thomas McGuane, was trying to kill her and had hired CIA agents to stalk her. She was placed under psychiatric care and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She later admitted she'd been living on the streets for several days before being found, sleeping in backyards and cardboard boxes. In the years that followed, Kidder became an outspoken advocate for mental health awareness. She spoke candidly about her struggles with bipolar disorder and the importance of destigmatizing mental illness. She additionally continued to act in smaller roles and appeared in several independent films. Sadly, she passed away in 2018 at age 69. Her death was deemed to have been self-initiated, and her family revealed she'd been struggling with depression and chronic pain in her final years. Randy Quaid.
For the past 20 years, my wife Evie and I have been the victims of criminal activities perpetrated by a small network of individuals who are out to destroy us personally, professionally, and financially.
Randy Quaid is an Academy Award-nominated actor known for his roles in films like The Last Detail, National Lampoon's Vacation, and Brokeback Mountain. However, in recent years, he's made headlines for his erratic behavior and legal troubles, which have left him allegedly homeless and on the run from authorities. Quaid's troubles began in 2009 when he and his wife, Evie, were arrested in Texas for allegedly skipping out on a $10,000 hotel bill. The couple claimed they were being targeted by a group of, quote, Hollywood star whackers who were trying to kill them. They fled to Canada, where they sought asylum, claiming their lives were in danger. In 2010, the Quaids were arrested again in Vancouver for failing to appear in court on the hotel bill charges. They were released on bail but failed to show up for the next court appearance. The couple then made a series of bizarre YouTube videos in which they ranted about the star whackers and accused several high-profile individuals, including Britney Spears and Mel Gibson, of being involved in the conspiracy. In 2015, the Quaids were arrested in Vermont while trying to cross the border into Canada. They were faced with being fugitives from justice and were extradited back to California to face the hotel bill charges. However, the charges were eventually dropped due to lack of evidence. Since then, the Quaids have been living a nomadic lifestyle, allegedly squatting in a house they once owned in Vermont and living out of their car. They've continued to make strange public statements and have even been banned from several countries, including Canada and the UK. Natasha Lyonne. Natasha Lyonne burst into the Hollywood scene in the late 1990s with her role in the hit teen comedy American Pie. She quickly became known for her unique screen presence and comedic timing, landing roles in films like But I'm a Cheerleader and Slums of Beverly Hills. However, behind the scenes, Lyonne was struggling with addiction and mental health issues that would eventually derail her promising career. In the early 2000s, her party-hardy lifestyle began to catch up with her. She was arrested several times for DUI and other illicit substance-related offenses. In 2005, she was hospitalized with hepatitis C, a heart infection, and a collapsed lung, all likely related to her substance abuse. She underwent open-heart surgery and spent months in the hospital recovering. During this time, she was also facing legal troubles. She was evicted from her New York City apartment and ended up living on the streets for a time. She continued to struggle with addiction and was in and out of rehab facilities. Lyonne's career suffered as a result of her personal issues. She was fired from several projects and became virtually unemployable in Hollywood. In 2012, she hit rock bottom when she was admitted to a mental hospital in New York City after suffering a nervous breakdown. But she refused to give up. She first got sober and began to rebuild her life and career. She then landed a role in the Netflix series Orange is the New Black, which helped revitalize her career. She went on to co-create and star in the critically acclaimed series Russian Doll, which premiered on Netflix in 2019. Houston McTear.
Name Houston McTear. I'm running lane 8, and I hope to do good.
While this person might not be a Hollywood star per se, his story is still worth including. Houston McTear was once considered the fastest man in the world. Born in 1957 in Okaloosa County, Florida, Houston rose to fame in the 1970s as a track and field sensation. He set world records in the 100-yard dash and the 60-yard dash, earning the nickname the Florida Flash. His speed and talent caught the attention of the sporting world, and he was soon being courted by top universities and sponsors. He signed a lucrative contract with Nike and seemed poised for a long and successful career in athletics. But Houston's life took a bleak turn in the 80s. He became addicted to a particularly addictive illegal substance that was trending at the time, and his career quickly unraveled. As a result, he lost his sponsorships and his savings and found himself living on the streets of LA. His story might have ended right there on Skid Row, but he refused to give up. With the help of a former coach, he entered rehab and began to turn his life around. He started competing again and even qualified for the 1984 Olympic trials, although he didn't make the team. Despite his comeback, Houston continued to struggle with addiction and homelessness throughout his life. He lived in a cardboard box in San Francisco for a time and spent years bouncing between shelters and the streets. In 2007, his story gained national attention when he was featured in an ESPN documentary called The McTear Supremacy. The film chronicled his rise to fame and subsequent fall from grace, as well as his ongoing battle with addiction. Despite facing incredible adversity and hitting rock bottom, he never gave up on himself or his dreams. He continued to compete and inspire others, even in his darkest moments. Sadly, he passed away in 2015 at age 58. Brett Butler.
I understand why you stole. You were testing your boundaries. You thought it would be exciting to see if you could get away with it. But stealing is wrong. It's wrong because... Libby, this is a crock.
Brett Butler is a comedian and actress, best known for her starring role in the 1990s sitcom Grace Under Fire. The show, which ran for 5 seasons on ABC, followed the story of a single mother struggling to raise her kids while dealing with addiction and abuse. Butler drew from her own life experiences to create the character of Grace Kelly. She had struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction throughout her career and had been in and out of rehab several times. But the success of Grace Under Fire seemed to be a turning point for Butler. She was sober and at the top of her game, earning critical acclaim and a loyal fan base. Behind the scenes, however, things were not as rosy as they appeared. Butler's behavior on set became increasingly erratic, and she was known for her angry outbursts and difficult demeanor. In 1997, she was arrested for driving under the influence and entered rehab once again. Despite her personal struggles, Grace Under Fire continued to be a hit with audiences. But in 1998, the show was abruptly canceled after Butler's behavior became too much for the network to handle. She had failed to show up for work several times and was reportedly using drugs on set. After the cancellation of Grace Under Fire, Butler's life and career went into a tailspin. She was in and out of rehab and struggled to find work in Hollywood. She lost her home and her savings and found herself living in a homeless shelter at one point. In the years since, Butler has been forthcoming about her struggles with addiction and homelessness. She has said that she hit rock bottom after the cancellation of her show and that it took her years to get back on her feet. Despite her challenges, Butler has continued to work in entertainment. She's appeared in several films and TV shows over the years, including The Young and the Restless and How to Get Away with Murder. She's also been a regular performer on the stand-up comedy circuit. She's been a champion for addiction recovery and mental health awareness. In this new role, she's spoken openly about her experiences and has encouraged others to seek help when they need it. Bud Abbott.
Now, wait a minute. Take it easy now. Go ahead. Huh? Go ahead and back up. Beg your pardon? Back up. Back up. Go ahead.
What do you want me to do? Go ahead or back up?
I'll tell you when.
You just told me I gotta back up.
Well, back up.
I'm gonna back up.
Go ahead.
Bud Abbott, best remembered as the straight man in the legendary comedy duo Abbott and Costello, faced mountainous financial difficulties later in life that led to a period of homelessness. Despite his immense success alongside Lou Costello, with whom he made 36 films between 1940 and 1956, Abbott struggled to maintain his wealth in later years. Born William Alexander Abbott in 1897, he began his career in showbiz as a cashier in Brooklyn theaters before transitioning to performing on stage. He met Lou Costello in the early 1930s, and the two formed their iconic partnership, going on to become one of the most popular and highest-paid entertainment acts of the 1940s and early 50s. But as their popularity waned in the mid-50s, Abbott and Costello faced financial troubles. The IRS demanded a considerable sum of back taxes, forcing the duo to sell most of their assets, including the rights to many of their films. After parting ways with Universal Studios in 1954 due to contract disputes, the team split up in 1957, shortly before Costello's death in 1959. Abbott attempted to revive his career with a new partner, Candy Candido, in 1960, but ultimately decided to retire, stating, quote, "No one could ever live up to Lou." In the late 50s, Abbott faced significant financial difficulties when the IRS disallowed $500,000 in tax exemptions, forcing him to sell his home and come out of semi-retirement. During this time, he experienced a period of homelessness, a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he had enjoyed at the height of his career. Fortunately, he later found a modicum of stability, making TV appearances and voicing the Abbott and Costello cartoon show in 1967. Sean Young.
You asked me to save this for you.
Gee, thanks.
Sean Young is an actress who rose to fame in the 1980s with roles in films like Blade Runner, Dune, and No Way Out. She was known for her stunning beauty and commanding screen presence and seemed poised for a long and successful career in Hollywood. But behind the scenes, Young was struggling with personal and professional challenges that would eventually derail her career. She gained a reputation for being difficult to work with on set and was involved in several high-profile disputes with directors and co-stars. In 1988, Young was cast as Vicky Vale in the highly anticipated Batman movie, but was forced to drop out after breaking her arm in a horseback riding accident. The role went to Kim Basinger instead, and Young's career never fully recovered. In the 90s, Young's behavior became increasingly erratic and unpredictable. She was fired from the film Dick Tracy after clashing with co-star Warren Beatty and was later arrested for stalking actor James Woods after he ended their relationship. In 2012, Young made headlines again when she was arrested at an Oscars after-party for allegedly slapping a security guard. The incident was caught on camera and went viral, further damaging her already troubled reputation. Despite facing that laundry list of personal and professional challenges, Young has persisted in the entertainment industry, albeit in minor roles and less high-profile projects. She's appeared in several indie films and TV shows in recent years and has also worked as a director and producer. John Drew Barrymore.
You know, you walk too much with your head down. You got to keep your eyes up toward the sun.
John Drew Barrymore, a member of the illustrious Barrymore acting family, led a tumultuous life stained by substance abuse, legal troubles, and periods of homelessness. Born John Blythe Barrymore Jr. in 1932, he was the son of legendary actor John Barrymore and actress Dolores Costello. Barrymore began his acting career at age 17, initially billed as John Barrymore Jr. He appeared in a number of films throughout the 1950s, including The Sundowners, High Lonesome, and While the City Sleeps. As his career progressed, he changed his stage name to John Drew Barrymore in 1958. Despite his early success, Barrymore's personal life was marred by substance abuse and erratic behavior. In the 1960s, he faced multiple arrests for illegal substance possession, public drunkenness, and spousal abuse. His substance abuse and legal issues began to overshadow his acting career, leading to an inevitable freefall in his professional prospects. In 1966, Barrymore was all set to appear as a guest star on the TV series Star Trek, but failed to show up for filming, resulting in a 6-month suspension from the Screen Actors Guild. This incident further damaged his reputation and made it increasingly difficult for him to find work in Hollywood. As his career deteriorated, his personal life also unraveled. He became estranged from his family, including his children, and his addiction and mental health issues worsened. He eventually withdrew from acting almost entirely, with his final credited roles being a 1974 episode of Kung Fu and an uncredited appearance in the 1976 film Baby Blue Marine. In later years, he lived a reclusive life, often described as derelict. He struggled with homelessness, and his physical and mental health continued to decline. In 2003, his daughter, actress Drew Barrymore, moved him closer to her home and provided for his medical needs until his death from cancer in 2004 at age 72. Danny Bonaduce.
I'm gonna get the money for Mom's fur coat. Don't you see? This is exactly the business opportunity we've been waiting for.
It is?
Yeah. First, we gotta steal Keith's toothbrush.
Why?
Because if they'll steal his ballpoint.
Danny Bonaduce is an actor and radio personality who rose to fame as a child star in the 70s on The Partridge Family. He played Danny Partridge, the wisecracking middle child of the musical family. But behind the scenes, he was struggling from a difficult upbringing and the pressures of fame at a young age. He was born into a family with a history of alcoholism and abuse and began using illicit substances and alcohol himself as a teenager. After the Partridge family ended in 1974, he struggled to find work in Hollywood. He took on a series of odd jobs and began living out of his car, struggling with homelessness and addiction. In 1990, he hit rock bottom when he was arrested for attempting to buy cocaine. The incident made headlines and forced him to confront his addiction and mental health issues. In the years that followed, he worked hard to turn his life around. He got sober and began working as a radio DJ, eventually landing his own show in Los Angeles. He also appeared on reality TV shows like Breaking Bonaduce and Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. Today, Bonaduce is a well-respected figure in entertainment, known for his honesty, humor, and resilience in the face of adversity. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these stories was most surprising to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below.